Good morning. Hello. Hi.
Hi. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm well.
You're okay.
Well,
I mean, you're okay.
I'm sure we'll have another whole episode about this at some point, but
Yeah.
I have chronic fatigue.
Yeah.
I've kind of been in a flare. It just means I have, like, instead of 4 batteries in my Walkman, I have 2 batteries, and they're almost dead, but
They're on the fritz.
they're on the fritz. But I'm okay for right this second.
You're okay for this second.
Yeah.
And then it will recharge.
Sure.
You'll get back out of your flare. I'm glad that you had enough juice, at least for this episode, because we've got a really pretty awesome guest today. We actually just finished the interview, so we're still like buzzing from it. But I'll just tell you that we have a very beloved actor. Actresses, I think actresses now, everybody's an actor. Is that right?
I think that's correct.
I don't think we say actress anymore.
But I think if we're playing Guess Who, you can, a female
actor. Okay.
There we go.
That was on a beloved sitcom from 2009 to 2015, which is a really long run for any show. So before we get into this interview with her, that you're going to love, and it's also delightfully surprising too, in a good way, that brings us to a very, very important topic that we can drop right into Jen Excellence.
It's Jen Excellence. Jen Excellence. Jen Excellence.
This is what I'd like us to ponder,
Okay.
starting with you. We're going to do a little Seinfeld versus Friends.
Okay.
Okay, and now there's many, many angles we can take here. Let's start with high-level feelings of just your preference.
It's actually hard. I
Yeah.
mean, it's truly apples and oranges.
Truly.
I watched both series.
Okay.
But I couldn't even tell you if they were airing at exactly the same time. Like, I don't know what the overlap is. But I would say at the time, I was Team Seinfeld.
Okay. Yeah. I think the overlap was real. The Venn diagram was a huge crossover.
Yeah.
I started watching Friends in college. That is when we all tried to do Rachel's hair. Was my junior year of college. So that was 94.
Yes, same. I
Maybe
mean, I was
95.
a little ahead of you, but
Yeah.
I do remember the Rachel haircut, and I was still in Lubbock. So
Yeah. So that was like early to mid 90s is when it started. And I'm pretty sure, well, guess what? We've got a computer right here on our laps. When did Seinfeld air? 89. So Seinfeld
First.
preceded it.
and I know it ended, maybe I was even
98.
married, because I remember the finale, which then I think with the finale of Seinfeld, then it shifted and I became more of Team Friends. I thought I identified with the humor in Seinfeld. Like, I just like the edge of it.
Yes.
And then the finale was super disappointing and pointed out that they're actually not the nicest people at all.
So true. I did not love the finale.
I thought it was funny before, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh, that behavior's not funny. It's actually pretty terrible.
I watch Seinfeld right now as like one of my night shows. It for me. So let's put this up on the debate block. Which one do you think, in your opinion, has, I guess, aged better?
I think culturally, intergenerationally, I think Friends might have a longer lifetime run. Like, I know so many Gen Zs that watch Friends.
Oh yeah. That's true.
But I still like Seinfeld.
Do you know when Seinfeld first came out? I remember watching the first, let's say, 3 episodes or something, thinking, I simply do not get this. Like, is this funny? Is this supposed to be funny? They're so weird. And also a little unlikable. And then it like caught. Like, I also think they hit their stride. Like the first season, if you go back and watch the first season, they're not in the pocket. Like none of their characters are fully developed. Jerry breaks every 3rd sentence. Like he's constantly like laughing at everybody. He can't hold a straight face. And Kramer's not as wild as he becomes. And it's really the 2nd season, I think, where they hit it. But to me, I'll still watch it right now in my bed at nighttime and guffaw. It's so absurd.
It's so absurd and funny, even though they're mean.
Well,
but I really did not realize that there was this undercurrent of unkindness until the finale.
For real?
Yeah.
They're such terrible people all throughout 9 seasons.
It's just...
Did it miss you?
Yeah, because I just like that kind of humor,
Well,
I
yeah,
guess.
exactly. But it wasn't lost on me that these are terrible people making terrible choices. They don't care. But that's why it was hilarious.
Even though I said earlier after the finale, I became more team Friends, Seinfeld lives in my brain more. Like,
oh, that's a good way to think of it.
Like we joke a lot using Seinfeld quotes and tropes and like George's giant wallet. And
of course.
We
Did
all
you eat
say
the trash? I mean, it's endless.
the number of times I have to explain to people, like I will take the dessert off the top of the trash can if you throw it away in front of me. Exactly. My friends wait to throw food away until I leave. Oh. Just because they know.
Well,
I mean, I don't eat trash. Y'all.
Well, but I mean, if it's on top of the trash per that episode, what's the problem?
There's no problem.
I don't have a problem with it. I really don't. I'm not precious about food at all. Okay. Well, I will also pledge my allegiance to Friends too. It seems like we both like Seinfeld a little better. That's how we're talking right now.
It seems like it.
I think I was prepared to say Friends, but I think now upon hindsight, the thing about Seinfeld was it was just standalone. Absolutely nothing like it. Where with Friends, we had other ensemble casts. We had, they both are, but we had other groups, that age group who were kind of cute and aspirational. But Seinfeld was just a creation out of an insane Larry David brain.
I feel like Friends is more of a sitcom.
Yeah, I guess so. More like a classic, traditional sort of sitcom.
Seinfeld's its own thing. But I loved Friends.
Oh, I did too. Don't get me wrong.
So...
Me and my roommates in college, our senior year, so at the time, even though I was married, Brandon was in the Army. So he was gone for 6 months for like boot camp and whatever all that is. So I lived with my 2 best friends my senior year, and we had this little house. And we instituted must-see TV on Thursday. Remember that was the genesis of must-see TV?
Yes.
And so it was like, let me see. There was a couple of rotating shows, like Suddenly Susan, Caroline in the City. Do you remember this?
Yes.
But then it was Friends, Seinfeld, I think Frasier, and then 9 o'clock was ER. And we would watch TV from 7 to 11. And we'd cook a big dinner, which was disastrous. None of us knew how to cook. But we called our moms and tried to understand how to make a chicken. Anyway, that's a really fun memory I have. Okay, shout out to Karen and Jill for must-see TV Thursdays.
When I take to the bed later today, I'm going to start Googling must-see TV stuff.
Oh, yeah. We fall down a rabbit hole there. Okay, one more segment real quick before we move into our awesome guest. Let's do a little culture shock. Culture shock. Culture shock. Ooh, I don't know if you saw this, But this week, they announced that Kendrick Lamar is going to do the Super Bowl halftime show.
I did hear this.
It's going to be awesome.
Because I have some kids who didn't see him at ACL, and I was like, oh, no, they can see him on the TV.
Oh, my God.
sure
It's
it'll be
going
fine.
to be amazing. Which makes me want to just ask you this. And you have to pick one. And I understand that we've got some real top contenders. But if you had to choose your favorite Super Bowl halftime show of all time.
Well, historically, I think if we look
Yes,
back,
historically.
no, historically between us,
Oh,
when you
yes.
asked me to pick one, I think I've always picked two because I cannot. But this time,
Okay.
I will say,
Okay.
and we can end the conversation, Prince.
I knew you were going to say that. And somewhere Tyler Merritt is cheering with his earbuds in. That's his choice too.
Right. Because it's, in this case, the correct answer.
Oh my gosh.
It was
That
raining.
was 2007, by the way.
Oh my gosh.
I have goosebumps. Look, I have goosebumps just remembering it.
It was so good.
So good. I weirdly fell down a Prince rabbit hole yesterday. I was looking at, something caught me. I got snagged, and then I grabbed it by the tail and lost an hour. Okay, I will just say by way of second place, if we can do that.
Okay.
And of course, this is clearly subjective. But I will never, ever get over the Super Bowl of 2022 with Dre and Snoop and Eminem and Mary J and Kendrick and 50 Cent.
It was good. It was good.
Oh my God.
It was great.
It was so great. It was so great. It was so great. I was watching that with friends and my kids. And I mean, there was a lot of hype around that show. So we were all like, everybody shut up. Shut up. I mean, we turned it up. We were locked and loaded. And it was so much better than I even expected. And then when I saw that my kids knew all the words to those old songs, I was like, do you know who's a good parent? I am.
I say this all the time when it comes to music.
Oh, yeah, you're good at this.
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent.
Excellent parenting. When our kids can pull out an old Dre song, nobody can tell me anything. I don't need any instruction on parenting. I won it. I won it already. So that was such a fun show. I watched that the next day on YouTube probably 10 times. Boop, boop, repeat. But Prince is the reigning champion. Yeah.
And if we can go outside
Yeah.
the parameters of halftime show, greatest performance
I already know what you're going to say.
is Whitney.
I have goosebumps again.
I
The Star
think-
Spangled Banner. I can see her I can see her headband. I can see what she's wearing.
I think in terms of singing the
Yes.
Star Spangled Banner
Yes.
and sporting events,
That's it.
throughout history,
That's right.
there's a before that happened
right.
and an after that happened.
Big agree. She was unrivaled.
Still, I think. There are plenty of people who can do that song justice. For sure.
For sure. No, I'm not saying there's not other singers, but damn.
But that was a cultural milestone.
It sure was. That was iconic.
Okay, well, I'm glad we agree
that's
on
good.
Prince.
That's good. There are other good ones. I've got a little list here of just reminders.
There's plenty of good ones.
Yeah. Michael Jackson in 93. That was a big one. This is it. And then we got to move on. I know this is not like the best of all time, but I'm just telling you the most entertaining person/group to me to watch is Bruno Mars. That kid can just throw it down. I mean, isn't he a kid?
Yes.
I don't know. Let me ask.
Well,
Let me ask.
I mean, he's a...
Siri, how old is Bruno Mars? He's 38.
Oh my gosh.
So I rest my case.
So early 30s when he did the Super Bowl, maybe?
Yes, let's see. In 2014, so 10 years ago.
Oh.
Yeah, so he was in his 20s.
Okay.
What a kid. He's so fun to watch.
So talented.
Okay, that's it. Because we have a really incredible conversation in front of you guys. Get excited. We really just wrapped up our conversation with the incredible, we buried this lead, of course, Yvette Nicole Brown. You guys, she is a shiny, glittery unicorn in this world. We've been trying to get her on the show, honestly, I think for 4 years. Right before COVID hit. And anyway, finally, we just wore her down. And one way that we were able to do that is because she's friends with Tyler. And so I used my girlfriend status.
Well played.
Thanks.
And I'm so glad that you couldn't get her before this.
Oh, that's so true.
So I could be here.
You're right. You know what? In the way that she would say it, God just had this set up for us, and this is his timing.
Well, thank you.
You'll see. You'll see how she talks about her life and the timing of the things that have come into her purview. But so just in case you don't know, Yvette she's an Emmy-nominated actor, writer, producer, host. She's probably best known for like her longtime role in Community. That was the show we were talking about earlier. Just a massive, massive hit. The Mayor, Drake and Josh, hi, remember that from our days. The Odd Couple, she won an Emmy for her role in the HBO series The Black Lady Sketch Show. She wrote a rom-com called Always a Bridesmaid. Mm-hmm. She's done tons of voiceover work. Like once you know her voice, you hear her in so much film and TV. She's done a bunch of guest hosting, The View, The Talk, more. A little fun fact, God, we forgot to ask her this, Amy. She is a Walking Dead, like, super fan. I cannot believe we forgot to ask her that. She had a cameo in it, and she ran their panel at San Diego Comic-Con. Shoot, that'd have been funny to hear her, like, nerd out.
Well, have her back.
Yeah, you're right. That's the only option. She's literally done everything both in front of the curtain and behind it in the industry. She is a delight. We get into this really meaningful and powerful conversation about what it means to be a Black woman in her industry, but also in this world. We talk a little bit about the election and what is at stake. I'm just telling you, this conversation is full of depth. And so we were on the edge of our seat, just
we had a plan. We thought we knew.
That's right.
What we were going to ask her about, and she was driving the bus.
She was. I'm like, let's go.
And it was an amazing ride.
It was an amazing ride. We jumped the train right off the tracks, and you are going to love it. So, without any further ado, you are going to enjoy this conversation with me and with Amy and the wonderful Yvette Nicole Brown. Everybody, welcome to the show. You're in for a treat. Yvette Nicole Brown, I have wanted you to be on this show for probably 4 years.
At least that.
Yes.
At least that.
Yes. Listen, sometimes tenacity finally wears a girl down, and she's like, fine.
No, I wanted to do it from the very first time you asked. It was just, trying to figure out, the COVID happened, and I'm a caregiver, and you're a caregiver, and it's just,
And with the writer's strike, I mean, it was just like one
so much
after another. We've done it. We've done it. We chased you down like a hunter, and you have made it into our show. We're so happy to see you. All right, let's start here. Let's just get this out of the way. You're friends with my boyfriend,
I am.
Tyler Merritt. And I'm not going to say that I didn't use my connections to get to you. So, I mean, he has a lot of qualities, but one of them could be he can connect me with people that I like. For example, you. Can you talk about how you even know this guy?
You know what's funny? I think about this a lot. There's a saying that says, when it's a really good friendship, you can't remember where you met. I honestly don't. First of all, I don't know that me and Tyler have ever even actually met.
That's what he said.
We have texted. We have sent messages and stuff. We're in group chats, all of that. Follow each other on every piece of social media. Yeah. But I don't know that we've ever met face to face. And I think we met During the pandemic sometime, it's one of his fabulous books. He was sending, I think it was the coffee one, that book. He sent it to me, and I fell in love with his voice and his story. And of course, I think I was a fan of yours, independent of his. Didn't know that you guys were together until later, but that also solidified that I'd made the right choice in choosing him as a friend. And here we are.
Here we are.
He's hard to resist, I'll tell you.
Yeah, he's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's a pretty good dude. I
Yeah.
mean, you fell under his spell pretty quickly when he came into our orbit.
Immediately. Yeah. Actually, I fell under his spell before that.
That's true. That's true. Let's get the cart before the horse here.
Right. Just watching him
Yeah.
do his work online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, I told you, I had a feeling, like, you know how sometimes you just see people and you know, like, there's some connection?
Yeah.
And sometimes that hasn't happened yet.
Ooh, I love that.
And then when y'all got together and I actually met him, I was like, oh, that was what it was.
I see.
the connection.
I
Yeah.
see.
I love it.
It was so interesting, Yvette. I'm just going through all your stuff the last couple of days, getting ready to meet you on the show. And I just start punching out all that you have done, all that you have created. I'm so impressed with your body of work. And it's not just, you obviously shine and dazzle in front of the camera. You're meant for it. You were born to it. There's no way you're about to tell us that you did not know from a young age that you were going to be a star. But you've done so much behind the camera too. You are a creator and a writer and a producer, and that's a completely different muscle. And so I think we'd just like to hear, if you don't mind, before we drill into some of it, a little bit about your arc, how this started for you and where you began and what you were learning and how it expanded and grew. At this point, there's almost nothing you haven't tackled.
Well, eating healthy and exercising, haven't figured that out. It's funny. I joke a lot about, first of all, thank you for that kindness, because I don't feel like anybody's star. And I don't know as a kid if I ever thought that I would be a star. I always felt that I would be impactful in people's lives in some way because of the way I love people. Like, I just love people so much, and I want everybody to be okay. So I kind of felt like God would move me into places where I could be a respite for people, or a place where I could make people laugh or feel better. So I knew that he'd use me in that way, but on this grand scale, I had no idea. And my entrance into all of it was music, actually. I started as a singer. I was, I forget if the listeners heard this before, forgive me, because I do tell this story a bit. But I was signed to Motown. Michael Bivins from New Edition and BBD was a manager for a while, and he discovered Boyz II Men. And he discovered me as a singer around the same time. And I was in the East Coast Family with them, and really was going to chase the music side because I love music so much. And the music business is a dirty business, and it's you have less control over your trajectory once you step into music than you do as an actor. As an actor, I can say no to roles that don't feed my spirit or make me feel. But in the music business, you kind of have to run the race that is placed in front of you until you become a huge star and can control it. And I just couldn't give up enough of my soul to have a career. I knew that that's not in me, to sell my soul in the way that, and I'm not saying everybody sold their soul, but I'm saying there's compromises that you have to make in certain segments of the entertainment industry that I am unwilling to make.
Yeah.
So I knew that, just starting with, I got to wear pants. There's a lot of leotard work happening, and I got to have my pants on. So just starting from there, I knew that it was not the right industry for me. So then I segued into commercials and sitcoms, and then everything else just happened, voiceover and game shows and hosting and moderating panels. And I still am pinching myself. I'm Forrest Gump in the flesh in real life, because I just say yes to things that feel right. And then God just takes me to the next opportunity to do the same.
Wow.
What are some of the best and also hardest things about being behind the camera versus your work in front of the camera?
The best things about being behind the camera is you don't have to wear girdles.
Oh, yay. Oh, we love to see it.
Yeah, no Spanx. I love it. So the things that I've produced, the shows that I produced the movie that I wrote, I executive produced that. And also the other thing about it is I like finding really great people and giving them a chance to shine.
Yeah.
I've always had the gift of the background. I'm the person in my church choir that I didn't want to sing the lead. I want to be strong in that alto section and hold it up for other people. And so the times that I produced, the one time that I directed, I loved the feeling of celebrating other artists and being like, go get them. Yes, be amazing. So it's like finding that diamond in the rough and helping them get to where they want to go next. The hardest part is it's time intensive, but I've found with the way I move, I'm so type A, and I, like in Hamilton, they say, why do you write like you're running out of time? I live each day as if I'm running out of time. So if I'm acting, if I'm doing this podcast, if I'm caring for my dad, I'm doing it at 110%. So it's not like producing is harder for me than acting. It's just very time intensive, and other people's journeys are involved. So it makes me just kind of lean in a little more. So that's a tough thing for me.
I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about your experience as not just a Black creator and artist, but a Black woman in the industry, and how you perceive the landscape, opportunities, lack of. What are the complexities here that you're just walking through just by virtue of existence, much less the work that you're doing and how you have to get it run up the right flagpoles. And I mean, the music business is dirty, but your business can also be a real quagmire. So I don't know. I'd love to hear something about your experience at that intersection.
It's kind of like, I remember the quote, I think it was Ginger Rogers that said, she's doing everything Fred Astaire's doing, but she's doing it backwards and in heels.
Yeah.
So I think of that in regards to being a Black woman in this industry. You have all the woman stuff that we already have to fight through. Every woman has the same gauntlet that she has to run through, dealing with, at times, mediocre men who think they know best.
Correct.
But then you add in, the white supremacy and racism and all of those things, and also the stigma of being a strong Black woman. You're not just strong, you're also angry, you're also rude, or whatever pejorative word they want to put on you. And so in order to move in this business for women, you have to be agreeable and likable to a certain extent. You have to the things that the men can get away with and be considered strong and powerful, and he knows what he wants.
That's right.
Those are bad things for us to be. So you have to be assertive without upsetting the apple cart, and be assertive without appearing to be uppity as a Black woman. You have to be assertive and knowledgeable while still appearing to know your place. And we're seeing this play out when we look at the fabulous Kamala Harris, not to get political, but to get political. Look at the fabulous Kamala Harris, who is the most qualified person to ever run for president ever. And there's no one that can dispute that. She is the most qualified. She has the most experience running for this office. And she has been elected for everything she's done. Nothing has been handed to her.
That's right.
The people have chosen her for every job she's had in the public space. And yet there are people that say she doesn't deserve it.
Yeah.
She didn't earn it. She got it because of nefarious means. And that's because she's a Black woman. And how could a Black woman be that brilliant?
Yeah.
How could a Black woman be that strong? How could a Black woman go through all she's gone through and still have joy in her heart? Isn't it interesting how they just can't see it on us? And meanwhile, if you throw a rock, you're going to hit a Black woman with all of those qualities.
That's right.
We just have to be that, because we can't exist in this world. We can't exist in this world without it. We don't have any protectors.
That's right.
We don't have any benefactors. We save ourselves. And that's why Black women are always so close with each other, because whenever you see a sister, you know her story without knowing her story. That's why we call each other sister, because we know what you've been through. Same thing with Black men, brother, sister. We know what the other person has been through, and we stand with each other and support each other. But here's the thing. We stand with and support everybody else too.
Yeah.
And that's why we say, when there's election season, we say, vote like Black women.
That's right.
Think like Black women. That's not hubris. That's not arrogance.
Right.
That's heart. That's soul. That's knowing that we put everybody else before ourselves. So if you vote with us, we're still taking care of you. We're still watching out for you. So vote like us. Vote who we're voting for, and you're going to be fine. You'll
That's a
see.
good North
You're going to be
Star.
fine. You're going to be fine if you vote like us.
I believe, I've said this for years, not just, for the big moments like the presidential election, but when it comes to anything that pops up in the news, in culture, in current events, whatever's going on, if I feel even a modicum of like, I'm not sure how to feel about this. I'm not sure what my response is. I don't know even how to quite read the room, or I can't quite discern the landscape. I've said this a million times. I just look to my Black women. I'm like, what do you think? And that's what I'm going to think. I'm on your heels. I'm like,
It's foolproof.
It's
foolproof.
just, it's the correct reading of the room. And then the response is always for the greater good. It
Always.
is for the common good. It is
Always.
what is good for culture. It is what is good for people, our neighbors, society, progress, equality. So
Always.
here.
I think one reason why so many people don't automatically believe that, like understand it, is the joy factor. Like putting in the hard work, we can understand. But the ability to access joy in all of it, I think is something that exists in the Black evangelical church that doesn't always exist in the white evangelical church
true.
or the progressive church. Like that constant taproot that allows joy through all of it.
Yeah.
Because Amy, our joy is our strength. It's really all we have. If we drill it down, because I remember my mom used to say, may she rest in peace, you laugh to keep from crying. Because the other thing that you need to understand is that no one cares about Black women tears. They don't care. They care about white women tears, but they don't care about Black women tears. So we learned long ago, it's no point in even crying because nobody's going to pay attention. They're going to step right over me if I'm in pain. So there's no point in me giving you my pain. It doesn't even register. And I'll take my pain to my sisters and they will hold me and walk me through it. But I don't show the public. Like if you think of any place you've worked through your life, any corporate place, any place you've worked, I want you to think hard and try to figure out if a Black woman cried, did anybody come to her aid ever?
Yeah.
They never do. Now, if a white woman cries, what happens? Everything
They're
stops.
just weaponized tears.
Everything stops if a white woman cries. And white women know this. And I'm not saying it's sinister. I'm not saying they're using what they have. And they know that if the tears start, everything stops and all attention will go to them. So that's what you guys have. We don't have that. So instead of me showing you my pain, I'm going to use my joy as my strength. And I'm going to dance through this thing. I'm going to laugh through this thing. Even watching it, going back to Kamala, when you watch her in these spaces, when she hears something that is ridiculous, she goes to laughter because it's ridiculous. Yeah. And she's going to, and they even hate that. They don't even like her laughing.
They hate her laughing.
She can't even laugh. So it's just, it's something, it is a superpower that we have. I think it's something that is a gift from God. I think that it is a soul level thing. And I found out recently, and I'm going to take a left or right turn, and you guys pull me back.
No, go on.
I was talking to a dear friend of mine, a white woman. It was after the debacle of 2016, and I couldn't understand the 53% that voted against their best interest, but beyond that, didn't vote for themselves. Yeah. She's right there. She looks like you. She's excellent. That's right. And you can't see yourself. I was shocked. I did not understand it. And I talked to my friend Jen. She's a Jen as well. I talked to my friend Jen and I said, Jen, what is this? Like, why did so many white women not vote for the white woman? And she said, white women don't see themselves in other white women. I said, what? She said, and correct me if I am wrong, but I've asked other white female friends this since, and they've all agreed. And I put it on Twitter, and 97% of the white women that responded agreed. She said that white women are not brought up to see community with other white women. They are brought up to see competition in other white women.
That was the
and
word
so
in my head.
it literally becomes, and I said, well, just outside. She said, not outside, in the family too. The mamas are competing with the daughters are competing with each other. Everybody's competing with the cousins. When they go to school, they're competing to find the dude that they're going. And it's cutthroat, she said. So there's no way, you're not taught that she is you. You're not taught that we are stronger together or we can go further if we help each other. You're not taught that.
Yeah.
She said, these are her words, not mine. So I am baffled by that because it's the complete opposite to the way Black women are raised and Black people are raised,
That's
but
right.
especially Black women. We are literally taught, you need her.
Yeah.
You will not survive without her. She is not your enemy. She is your ally. She's your friend. She's your sister. And so it's just, if you look at the idea of what Joteka did with Win with Black Women, the day that Kamala got the endorsement, hundreds and thousands of Black women coming together like that tells you where we go. Where do we sign in? What do we do? Broke Zoom, running to get into a room to help a sister.
That's right.
So it's something that I believe you guys can learn to foster, because the more you have Black female friends and get to see how we do it, you will see how much joy and love and just it's such a warm hug to know that you have someone that is rooting for you in the same way that you're rooting for them, right?
Absolutely.
So it's possible to get it, but you have to see it first to know that it exists. Because if your circle is only other white women and they have not tapped into the beauty of sisterhood, you are going to go through life only thinking of the men in your life.
That's right.
And that's essentially what happened. I got to save my son and my husband. And Donald Trump is the way because he cares about white people.
Yeah. That's the
But
problem.
no one else.
I think power is such a reliable disruptor here, because what white women know, whether intuitively or overtly or both, is that one of our tools is proximity to white male power. We're close. We have crumbs from that table.
That's right.
And so we know that that's how that works. And so we have been conditioned to position ourselves in proximity to that power. So we have a vested interest to actually keep white men on the top rung of the ladder, because at least we're still getting some crumbs. So it's never occurred. No one ever taught us that we didn't have to beg for crumbs. We could pull up our own seats as women. No, that was not a message I ever heard.
And that's the message we always hear. From the time we're born, we are taught you cannot depend on anybody. Now, it'd be nice if you find somebody that wants to love you and help you and walk through life with you. Your sisters will do that, for sure. Your brothers will do that, for sure. But as far as someone that's going to protect you, I mean, even Malcolm X said that the Black woman is the most unprotected, disrespected. He listed 11 things that we are. We are never considered except by each other, right? So we could not depend on a man to protect us, or we just couldn't. Now, it's, again, many people have that, and it's lovely if you find that, but we couldn't depend on it. It was not guaranteed for us. So we had to make sure. That's why we are the most educated group of people. We have to get our own doctorate. That's right. We have to get our own master's. We have to have our own company, because we can't expect anyone to come in and take care of us for the rest of our lives. And in a lot of instances, nor do we need it or require it or desire it. We want to have our own thing. Yeah. Because when we have our own things, we can do more good.
That's right. And that's how it works.
And I think the shift to happen is, number one, for white women to recognize our position, our proximity to power, like just understand that. But then to see things differently, we have to have a different worldview. And right now, I think the competitiveness, the proximity to power is because we have a worldview of scarcity. Right. Ironically.
Right. Yeah. Right. Is it right?
We're the ones with the
biggest slice of the pie.
Right. And yet we still see things through a lens of scarcity. And I think the Black community and Black women see things with a worldview of abundance. I mean, it's just a completely different way of seeing every facet of life. That's right. Yeah. And that's a really hard pivot if you've been taught.
But you know what's funny, Amy? The abundance is not so much that we see it outside of us. We see it within us. Because there's what abundance is there for Black people? Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is not a world that's wide open for us. It never has been. You know, and then with what the Supreme Court did for women with Roe v. Wade, and then also with affirmative action for us, there's even less opportunity for us to be upwardly mobile in the education space right now. They're taking our books out of schools and banning them and burning them. So there's less opportunity for little black and brown babies and even little white kids to find out
That's right.
the beauty of blackness. So there's no abundance outside.
Right.
The abundance is within. And I'd rather have it there anyway, because I take that with me no matter what
That's
I see
right.
outside my window.
That's
right?
right.
And that's
So
something
I
that
think-
you are
yeah.
taught, which means
Yes.
we can also learn it. But
Absolutely. Absolutely.
there's so much disparity in
Yeah.
in what we're taught from a young age, and
And that's heartbreaking to me to hear. Like
Yeah.
when my friend Jen told me, and let me say this out loud because I don't want the tweets. Not all white women. I know.
Sure.
Let's
Right.
just do that because I get so
Okay,
tired
all
of
right.
it. Well, I okay. You
We
and your
logged it.
sisters
We logged
celebrated
it.
it.
Not all
and
white
loved
women.
it.
All
I
right.
got it. But I'm talking about the ones that don't.
Yeah.
But I think that it's important to understand that it's something that happened to you all generationally, right? And I see all white supremacy as a form of child abuse. Because when you tell your little babies historically that they're better just because they lack melanin, and when you think about that's the only reason, you're only better because you're not brown.
Right.
That's so dumb.
Right, it's
But
absurd.
to tell a child that, I think it limits what they end up doing because they think inherently, like the one that's running against Kamala really thinks he's really smart.
Yeah.
He's not.
No.
But he's been told that because he lacks melanin, that he's the best there ever is,
Mm-hmm.
which means he never even had a chance to try to see if he could do anything with his life. Because he thought inherently he was just it. And he's not. So it is child abuse. It limits what little white kids get to believe and dream of for themselves. Because also, if it's just because I don't have melanin, then it's not about skill.
That's right.
So I don't have to ever get a skill, really. And then because so many that are privileged and entitled and rich failed forward. I was on a set once. I won't say what set, but I was on a set once. And I heard the star of this show talking to a producer friend. And he said, yeah, so-and-so's daughter is getting out of school and she wants to be a writer. So I'm going to bring her into the writer's room and get her started so she can have a good start. The guy goes, have you read anything? I don't need to read anything. It's so-and-so's daughter.
Yeah.
I got her.
Yeah.
That is a conversation that no black person has ever been the beneficiary of.
That's right.
In this business.
Yeah.
You know, and if someone has it, the amount, the percentage is infinitesimal,
Yeah.
right? Because first, there's not enough black people in positions of power to be able to have generational connections in this industry to bring little Johnny into the writer's room with no experience. So when you look at stuff like that and you realize that it's not just happening on that set, it's happening on every set, then you realize as an actor in this business or anything in this business that there are going to be people in rooms that you're going into that don't belong there, that have not earned their right. They want to talk about DEI. That's DEI.
That's right.
Right? You want to get rid of affirmative action, and yet you're letting people in on legacy because their daddy and their granddaddy and their granddaddy went to this school, so they get to come in. So that's not affirmative action. That's not DEI. Didn't earn it. You know. So these are the things that we're warring against, and this is the thing I want to be clear about. I'm happy for that girl. This business is hard. I'm glad she's got a leg up. I just wish everybody had the leg up.
Exactly.
I wish it was truly an even playing field. Because when someone is toiling with black people, when we're in this business, we have to toil for a good 10, 20 years before we get a shot. Now, thank God, melanin is restorative. You know, I can play 30 when I'm 75.
That's right.
Right? So that's good. That's the way God redeems the time. But it takes us so much longer because we have to have 50, 11 credits before we can get in that same writer's room that little Mary got in just because she's Michael's daughter.
Yeah.
These are the things that we come here knowing. We know this. And that's why we work so hard and we get our degrees.
That's why you
You
build
know?
your own spaces.
Absolutely.
And then you're in the position of power, which means
Absolutely.
you get to make those choices and you get to build kind of a different culture.
And bring other people in though, Jen. That's the thing. Going
Exactly.
back to it, we do things for the greater good.
Of course.
So if we get writers' rooms, it's not going to be just so-and-so's daughter.
Sure.
We're going to make sure everybody, come on in here.
Yeah.
There has not been a black show I've been on where there haven't been white people working on it too. Now, have I been on white shows where the whole crew is white?
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have I been on on a show where the whole writer's room is white? Yes. I have never been on a black show where the entire writer's room is black or the entire crew is black. We just don't do it like that.
It's a perfect example of a rising tide lifts all boats.
Lifts all boats.
Yeah, that's right.
Lifts all boats.
Speaking of a rising tide and joy, it is real fun to just watch you be in love.
Oh,
Real
good
fun.
guy. He's a
You
good
know,
guy.
our stories are different. I was married for 26 years, but I did not expect to be single in my upper 40s. I did not see that coming. And so, even though it's second time for me, I'm also fallen in love. We're about the same age. I'm 50.
I'm 53. Yeah, I just turned 53.
Yeah. And whoa,
Told you.
whoa.
Restorative.
Tell us a little bit more. Of course, I follow you, so I've been
Yes.
watching your love story unfold. It's just
Yeah.
delightful. Tell us
He's
about
so
your
nice.
guy and what it's
You know-
been like to fall like this in your 50s.
Yeah, he's so nice. Like I when I tell people the greatest attribute that he has besides being a lover of God and Christ as I am, he is such a nice man. Thinks of others, cares about others, speaks life into others. He's super funny and just talented and just my match in temperament and silliness. And and I had hung up my love hat. I believe that God has been so faithful and kind to me in so many ways. I was okay with the love thing not being for me. Everybody doesn't leave here married or having a love affair or a love story. And God had been so good. So I said, I can't sit here and act like he hasn't been good to me just because that one thing didn't happen. So I just got busy continuing to do his work and let it go. And the story with me and Tony and I were friends 30 years ago, 25 years ago, in an acting class at church. That's where we met. He was married. He was married, a young father, a young husband. And we were just platonic friends, but I always thought he was so nice. I was like, oh, Tony's funny and nice. And I was happy that he was my friend. So he ended up leaving LA and moving back to New York with his family. And he and I lost touch for 25 years. Not a text, so long ago there were no texts, but no calls, no anything. He was living his life, I was living mine. And I thought of him often, like, I wonder how Tony Davis is doing. I wonder what's going on with him. Because again, he made a big impact on me in my life. And then I think 5 years ago, he got divorced. I didn't know. He got divorced. And then a guy I didn't know, a strange name on Instagram would just pop up in my comment section, like, congratulations, or great job on this show, or I hope you're doing well. And I get a lot of really kind messages like that from people I don't know. And I just go, well, thank you, sir, or thank you, Mary in Peoria. And I keep it moving, right? Keep moving. So then my mom passed 3 years ago. And I got a DM from him that said, I heard about your mom. How are you doing? And it was like the emphasis. And, how are you? And I wrote back, who are you? This was like, you literally are everywhere. Who are you? And he was like, it's Tony Davis. And I was like, Tony Davis from Faithful Central Missionary Baptist Church?
Wow.
What? And so we just started talking as friends again, and we caught up, and he was telling me what's happening with his sons and his life. And he had become an ordained minister. He was working for the city of New York. Like, he was telling me all these things that he had done. And of course that he was divorced. And I started sharing things that were happening with my life. And the next thing you know, we're talking, a couple times a week. Then we're talking every day. And then we're talking almost all day and still friends, And then every time I would go to New York for work, we would end up going to a Broadway show. I'd be like, well, Tony, you want to go see Hamilton, or you want to go see MJ the musical? And he'd be like, sure. So then we became like just buddies in New York. And then one day it was just kind of like, wait a minute. What is, and listen, I'd never been engaged, never truly. Now that I am in love, I know that I never really was truly in love. So I didn't even know what the feeling I was feeling was. I was like, what is this? Is this the knowing that everyone says? And turns out it's the knowing.
Yeah.
So he's my guy, and he's, God had a plan for each of us, and his beautiful sons that are in the world needed to exist, and they are a part of him and his ex-wife, and they're amazing. And I needed to go forth and create this amazing career and to get my life settled so that when he came in to my life, we could work together to continue building what God had already begun. And we've already started that work. Me and him, you think I'm amazing. Me with him, it's a good time. it's a good time. So I'm really grateful for what God has done in my life in every area. And he's a big part of it now.
God, that's so fun to hear.
It's wonderful to watch.
Yeah, it
the
is.
two of you
Thanks,
together.
Thank you, honey.
I've watched some interviews that you've done together, and your chemistry and joy again,
Joy.
and the way you laugh and are so comfortable together. It's just really wonderful to watch.
Yeah, we really are. He's my best friend. Like, he really is like he's the coolest person I know. And look, you see me glistening because I'm getting a hot flash. 53. Think I'm not 53? Let me put this fan on for a minute. Talk amongst yourselves.
We know all about it.
Oh my gosh,
We know
what would I do
all
without
about
my
it.
fans?
My goodness.
Everybody comes into my house. They're like, "Do you have a parka I can put on?" I'm like, "This is how cold it's going to be in here, or else I
Oh, my
can't handle the
gosh.
day."
Oh,
So,
gosh.
I know. It's just, I didn't
It's
even
like-
know. I didn't know this. I didn't know about this. Nobody
I
prepared
didn't either.
me for
Wait,
menopause.
have you guys heard about the cold flashes?
Well, I'd love one.
Oh, they never come. Like, it would be great if I could have one right now because I'm having a hot flash. It literally, in the same way the hot flash will come and turn you into a furnace, the cold flash will come and turn you into a freezer. It is ridiculous.
Do you have
I'm
that?
literally putting on coats, taking off coats, grabbing fans, turning fans off. It's
I
ridiculous.
can't.
I don't have a out of the blue cold flash, but I can't regulate my temperature very well.
No, we can't.
Like if I
It's
get
over.
in cold water, if I take a cold shower,
It's
I can't
over.
get warm for
Yep.
till like
Yep.
tomorrow.
Yep.
the worst.
Yeah. It's this is our lives. This is our lives now, lady.
It's our life.
It's so unpleasant.
It really is. It's really horrible. It's horrible.
In addition to all of your work on screen, behind the camera, in writers' rooms, you also have a new project, a podcast about
Yeah.
caregiving,
Oh, I love it so much.
which is so needed.
Gosh, no, this is not a big enough conversation out there, but our generation is there.
We're there.
Yeah.
We're in the middle, sandwiched.
Yep.
And I've listened to a few episodes. They are so well done because they are so real, but also approached with such kindness.
Thank you.
It's really hard to give everything when you're a caregiver and also not see it as a burden
Yep.
and also convince the person who you're caring for that it's not a burden.
Not a burden.
Like the work can be impossibly difficult, but also not be a burden.
Yeah.
And I think the stories you've highlighted, the people you've interviewed, they've all done a great job in explaining that, and you've
Yeah.
sussed that out. Can you tell us more about the project?
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for the chance to do that, and thank you for listening. It's called Squeezed, and it's a play on the idea of being the sandwich generation, which we are, where people in our age group are a lot of times taking care of kids and also taking care of parents at the same time. So Limonada Media produces it, and we decided that we wanted to create a safe space for caregivers, first of all, and also to give them a love letter, right? A lot of us that are caregivers, we toil in silence. We also feel like we're alone and no one else is doing it because, I don't know if it's because caregivers are so tired that they're not talking about it, or if they're so humble that they're not talking about it because, excuse me, it takes a certain type of person to selflessly and sacrificially give of themselves for the benefit of another person, right? And to do it for years at a time. So I think it's a different type of humanity. And I think that a lot of caregivers are just, first of all, too humble to even realize they're caregivers. What I like to say and what I've said on Squeezed is that you're either, before you leave, you'll either be a caregiver or provide care. And then a lot of people will do both, right? But more than that, I think there are people that are caregivers that don't realize they are. Parents are caregivers. If you send Instacart food to your aunt in Chicago and make sure you make her appointments for her doctor, you're her caregiver. You know, and so there are things that you're doing. You're spending your lunch hour, calling her doctor. You're sacrificially giving of yourself to make sure she has what she needs. That is caregiving. So if more people open their mind to what it is, we can move the government to create more safety nets for people so that you don't have to use your lunch hour, so that you can deduct maybe some of these things and get some of this money back that you're expending. So Squeeze talks to all the different types of caregivers. we kind of grab all the stories of what's difficult for them. And then we have an episode where we talk to Javier Becerra, who's the Secretary of Health and Human Services. And we told him, well, this is what Jessica's dealing with. This is what Rebecca's dealing with, or Alua, or whoever. This is what they're dealing with. What can you talk to the current administration about to make this better? And so it's all about creating a place for people to rest, because Squeezed is the kind of podcast, because I call it a docu-podcast. So it's not just me talking to like I'm talking with you. We also send a crew to their homes, right? So there's clips of their life. You hear their kids running around in the background, or you'll hear them having a conversation with their mother or their father who they're caring for. And then we add the other aspect of me having an interview with them as well. So if you close your eyes, it's almost like you're listening to a documentary of this person's life. And it's soothing. You know, it's soothing because there are triumphs in all of their lives. It's cathartic because there's challenges, and they may mirror the challenges that you have. And then, you know, I got jokes. So I'm cracking some jokes to make sure we can lighten the load in every episode. I really think it's special. And I'm not just saying that because I do it and I produced it. It's special and it's needed. And I hope that every caregiver, and I say in there, may you or future you find your way to it and find some comfort in what we're trying to do for us. And that's all of us, because again, we're all going to be in this boat at some point.
Good for you. I cannot wait to put that in front of my community. Just link it up everywhere. It is
Thanks,
a
Jen.
lonely, lonely place to be.
It is.
And I know from leading this many women that tons of women in our age range are going through this to some degree. You know, it's a huge spectrum, but are beginning that part of their story and don't quite know where to turn. So what a wonderful project. And of course, that's born out of your own experience.
Yeah,
you know,
11
of
years
course.
with my daddy. Take care of my daddy for
Exactly,
11 years.
Before we let you go,
Yeah.
we'd love to hear what your favorite things that you're working on right now. What do you just love? Like, what's so fun? What are you looking forward to?
Well, aside from Squeezed, I did a really cool movie that just premiered at TIFF. Anderson .Paak, the amazing performer, he's in the group with Bruno Mars, but he has a prolific musical career on his own. It's his directorial debut. It's called K-Pops, so it's a play on K-pop. Anderson is part Korean. He's Black and Korean, and so is his son. And it's like a playful musical story about him reconnecting with a son he didn't know he had. And it's set in the world of K-pop. And I play his mom. I play Anderson .Paak's mom.
Yeah.
Very young, too young to be his mom.
Obviously.
But, yeah.
It's just fiction.
And so it just debuted at TIFF, and we got a standing ovation. I wasn't able to go to the premiere, but all of the castmates were like, "Girl, it was so great." So that's coming out, and then also I have a really fun episode of Frasier coming up. I have a great actor friend named Tokes, and she's a series regular on Frasier. And from season 1, she was talking about her sister Monica, and season 2, Monica appears, and I got to play her.
Monica.
So yeah, it's pretty awesome. So those are 2 things, and you know, I do a lot of voiceover stuff. I have Among Us coming out, a cartoon, and there's a bunch of little things I like to do. So yeah,
You hustle. You
do.
hustle.
You do.
I do.
You just have so many irons in the fire, and they're all interesting. You're just a creative, so I can imagine there's probably no other way for you to be in the world than the way
just
that you
love
are.
it. Jen, can I mention one other thing that I think
sure
is really
can.
important? I'm also vice chair of an organization called Donors Choose, and I don't know if you guys are aware of it, but Donors Choose is it's a charity for teachers and students, and it's where teachers who want to do amazing things in their classrooms but can't afford it because they're not paid well and public schools are not funded as they should be. That's another problem. They put what they need out. Like I'd like, a 64 box of crayons for everybody in my classroom. And then we, the donors, get to say, I got 5 on it. Or I'm going to fund the whole thing. And then you get to become a hero in a classroom and help teachers and students. So it's donorschoose.org. And then one other thing I want to mention is the Creative Coalition is a wonderful philanthropic arm of the entertainment industry. And I'm the chair of their Commission on Caregiving. So they're doing great things to make sure that people know more about caregiving. They also had initiatives on mental health. They had initiatives on obesity being a disease. They have their overarching thing that they fight for is arts in schools and arts in communities. And we go to Washington and to Capitol Hill and advocate for these things every year. So I just wanted to shout out the Creative Coalition as well. So, and lastly, Emily's List, which works to get pro-choice Democratic women elected. So those are 3 boards that I am super excited about and wanted to shout them out and hope people will consider giving to those causes and helping those causes.
God, what are we doing with our lives? What
Stop
are you
it.
and I doing?
We're linking
Stop.
all of her things
That's
on
what
the
we're doing.
webpage.
Every last one. Link to give your money.
And then following her lead.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Oh, thank
We're just delighted to have met you. We were talking
is
about
so
you this
great.
morning before we hopped into the studio. Like, who is this just magical person in the world? You're I'm just proud of you. I don't know if that's a weird thing to say.
No, it's
but
not. It's
I'm
it's
just
great.
proud of the way that you're living your life and of using your voice in such a powerful and important way.
Thank you.
And then creating so much joy for the masses. It's really extraordinary to watch. And so
Thank you. I'm proud of you as well.
Thank you.
And I love all the work that you're doing. And, it's not a small thing that you guys would even open up your platform for me to be able to reach even more people and talk about the things that matter to me. So I'm very grateful that you had me. And anything I can ever do to help amplify whatever you're doing,
Same.
you just let me know.
Same. That's it. Off you go into your life. You must have 25 things to do in the next calendar
few.
hour. So
I have a
I'm sure you do. Thanks for being on.
Thank
so
you.
happy to have finally met you.
Thank you. Nice to have met you both in this era. This is awesome. Thank you.
All right, you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. Thank you for reviewing. Thank you for subscribing. It means so much to us. And we see you and we're always listening to you. We appreciate you as a listening community so, so, so much. So if you go to jenhatmaker.com under the podcast tab, I'll have everything about this episode. I'll have the show notes. I'll have all the links that we promised you, all the incredible work that Yvette does, links to her stuff, her shows, her spaces, her socials. She's a really great follow on social media. You can get it all in one space, and you can share this episode if you'd like to, which we love it when you do it. So incredible interviews in queue for the rest of 2024. This is a good year for the pod. And I'm so happy that you're here. Can't
too.
imagine doing it with anybody else.
I'm excited to go home and look all of her things up. Like, as Mrs. Obama said, get to work.
To work. That's right.
And I'm going to do what she's doing.
I am too. Same. All right, everybody. Thanks for being here. See you next week.